Hey, how's it going? So I had wanted to talk about um, getting messages from music, and oh, don't flop. Could be flopping. Oh, actually, please look at my signs before I get started. Okay, so oh, seriously? Gotta sneeze, maybe. Okay, so messages from songs. Do you ever start hearing a song in your head just over and over and over? Whoa, and you didn't necessarily have to hear it off the radio to get like the earworm effect. It's just in there going, and at different times of day, all of a sudden the song will be in your head. That's happened to you, right? So that happens to me a lot, and I figure, well, that song is trying to tell me something, and it's obviously not just me dreaming this up. If I can have that experience, so do other people. In fact, a person that I post a lot because I feel like she's got a lot of information to offer that we awakening humans need to know, Kalina Malnar. Kalina Malnar. I don't know if that came out clearly or not, but Kalina, I posted it on here, and I will look for the link, or I can just tell you, she has a website that's not a YouTube channel. That's KalinaMalnar.com. But she also has a YouTube channel under her name. And for January of 2025, she posted a series of messages, but it may have even been before the new year fell, that she gave a list of songs to listen to. And a lot of the songs are songs that I hear a lot, either on the radio that I'm listening to, or just out in the world, or just stuff that is in my YouTube music mix. Like, I'll have some stuff on there, and YouTube will just go, if you like that, then you'll like this, without asking me if I want it there. And you can't, I mean, I haven't found a way to edit stuff out, but some songs will end up in there, and it's like, whatever, you can go past them or skip them, whatever. But most of it is like, I don't mind, stuff that I'm familiar with. So she was like, listen to those songs, and don't just listen to the lyrics. Listen to them, I'm going to phrase it my way, listen to them with your heart, because the feeling is telling you something. The feeling you're getting from hearing this song is telling you something. And I don't think it's something that can be specifically defined for every single person, but I mean, I think generally that's enough of a guideline, So the song that I was hearing a lot around that time, actually, and still, I woke up, I fell asleep, I don't know, stupid early, ow, 8 p.m. or something. I just dozed off, pothead. But I woke up at 11, and I'm just waking up, trying to pay attention to other guidelines, like, don't immediately open your eyes and start looking at your phone. So I'm sitting there waking up, playing with the cat, and just slowly waking up, and then it just starts creeping in the beginning of this song. And I'm like, God dang it, it's Badge again. I wasn't angry. I really am liking the song. It could probably keep going in my head for a long time before it's going to start to bother me. But it's not going to probably keep going in my head, because I think I figured out what it was trying to tell me, which I'm going to share with you. So the song is Badge by Cream. I have mentioned it recently here. And it's an old song. It came out in '69, and it was from Cream, which is an Eric Clapton group. They called it a super group because Ginger Baker and Jack Bruce were from other groups. Pin that. So I was like, okay, let me just find out what. And this was earlier today, or I guess now it's the next day. So earlier yesterday, before I dozed off, I had looked up what is the meaning of the song. You're not always gonna find one because I don't know, whatever reason, it may or may not be there when you look. And I had a feeling, I have a lot of feelings, but I had a feeling like I would find something about this one. And here's what's interesting though, before I looked, this was my feeling about the song. This was kind of what I was getting from it. But I want to say that it was disjointed and felt like random statements that were not necessarily in context. So at the same time, it, because of multiple things, was giving me like a feeling of nostalgia, you know. And the lyrics, it sounds like someone looking back, and I don't know if you're like me, you have these conversations with yourself and you're just sort of replaying events, and not so much as a I should have said, or maybe more of like I wish it would have gone this way, or I wish I would have said this. Because it's not like a, oh, I blew my chance to say something, you know, to zing them, you know, or to throw in a burn or whatever, you know. It's not that kind of feeling. So, but it's like this person just sort of, I felt like rolling a thought or two over in their mind. Like you'll just examine stuff. I mean, if you're me, that's what happens with me. And maybe it's like stuff that is better let go. But see, when I started to go there, I was like, oh, you know, don't go see what it's about. Don't start like adding your own layer to it, and because that would change it. So I go look it up, and I was right on a lot of fronts about it. Like, it definitely had the nostalgic feel. Well, because it's an old song, but in the context of when it came out, it had the nostalgic feel. Or, well, I'll explain. So it is, like, the lyrics are pretty much repeated from a drunk Ringo Starr, okay? And there's sentences. It doesn't tell you what the article about it that I clicked on to see what is Badge about doesn't say anything about any of that. And I didn't know that Ringo Starr had anything to do with it, although I shouldn't be surprised. And stuff that was said to George Harrison, who worked on the song, and he's collaborated, you may know this, with George Harrison on many things. Eric Clapton has, and you know, vice versa. So also no surprise that the three of them are like sort of linked to this song. And I think there was like an actual like written lyric or two thrown in, but it sounded like it was mainly composed of stuff drunk Ringo sentences a drunk Ringo spat out. So that was funny to me. And so, but also the fact that like those three guys, the Beatle Clapton connection, especially with George Harrison, is a recurring theme in that sort of era of Brit rock history. And it's interesting because, like, I feel like, and you know, from the outside, you don't have any real clue of what's going on the inside. And secondly, we're talking about a band which is a cauldron of egos clashing most of the time. So when people get along and it works out, it's kind of magical. And so musical colleagues, Clapton and Harrison, proficient, technical musicians, all, like every participant, in that played on the song or contributed to it, right? And now that is a thing that I like about it. Like, just it's well done. It's a catchy song, and evidently George Harrison wrote it. I don't know why Cream ended up with it, but I just like that it's like just these friends that have known each other forever. Oh, and the other part of the George Harrison, Eric Clapton thing is like stealing each other's women. Or actually, here's what I started to say. George Harrison, like, got it a lot from his other band members in various ways, like shoved aside. And this is just how it appeared from the outside. I really don't know what exactly I was looking at, but it looked like George Harrison was sort of like the little brother that got shoved behind, but he was actually like more essential to the songwriting process than you would think just looking at like song credits on the label of a record. There's just so much going on in that type of situation where you don't know. And then like a music studio, people come and go, people come by. Like maybe you're in a different part of the studio and you come out to go to the bathroom and you see someone and they're like, oh, hey, so-and-so's in another studio. And then you wander over there at some point, and then collaborations happen, and it's like very fun, creative atmosphere to be in. And unless it's not going well, and then it's not. But musically, they worked well together over and over, regardless of the personal stuff where, like, George Harrison had a woman and Eric Clapton stole her, and then neither of them ended up with her. But Eric Clapton, oh my gosh, I'm repeating stuff that is out there for anyone to read. If you want to know, like, all you got to do is put the name in and all of that stuff's going to come out. So he was, I guess, a philanderer, a wife stealer, and just had like woman drama a lot. Like, it's in his music, like most of them. Stuff happens, like a Taylor Swift, stuff happens, it's in the songs. So, I mean, that's normal, right? But those guys just kind of stayed friends through all of that stuff, and then they both were like addicted to drugs and had to go through the recovery process and all of that, and more changes to you and your personality and your outlook on life. And it just makes me feel like, they stayed friends through all kinds of crap and lived and learned from each other and made great music that everybody else in the world gets to enjoy. And I just think, like, if you're going to do some good things in your life, those are some good things to do in your life. And then the other part of the song that personally is attractive is that the instruments. And one of them is like an upright piano. I don't know why, but the tone of those things just like does something in here. I don't even know how to define it, but it's powerful, I want to feel it over and over, and other situations have made me feel something like it. But like, if you want to feel that set of feelings, or whatever set of feelings, whatever song, brings out in you, then you do you. So, that's like part of the enjoyment experience for me. And then, divining the divine message, defining it, was just sort of this whole exploration I've gone through with you, that I'm sharing with you. And I mean, for me, there's messages in there. Everything I said was a message. There's an association. That's why it's meaningful. Like, something you hear them say in the song or in an interview or in an article, it's gonna strike a chord with you, so to speak. So, the messages I got from it was like friendship is love and can be enduring through thick and thin and smooth and jagged and all of the stuff. And I have like musician in, I guess it doesn't go away from like your inner self, but I was a musician. I mean, I guess I still am. I still think like one. I still have all of the feelings. My mind is still doing the music, but my body, when I got sick, it doesn't cooperate when I wasn't sick anymore the way it used to, and it's just like I don't even want to do it in front of people anymore if I do it at all, which is not often because I kind of physically can't anymore. It's that you have good days and bad days thing. So I personally have, obviously diverted my creative energies in a different direction, but that's fine. I still, obviously, I'm talking about it. I still enjoy music. It's, like there all the time in the background. Like even now, you can't hear it because I can't, licensing and stuff. But right now, playing is... it's Pink Floyd, actually. Anyway, yeah. So, I just wanted to kind of share that little funny. I thought it was funny. And here's the last thing about it that I thought was amusing. I thought was amusing. So the song is called Badge, and nothing about any of that could I make a connection with Badge, because it ain't I shot the sheriff, It is that. There was like some paper where the notes of the like lyrics were scribbled out, or maybe some... Well, Eric Clapton didn't read music, or he's not dead. Shh, don't even say it. He doesn't read music. He never learned. And I also like bad about him because I did learn actually, but I didn't keep up. And then when I started playing music, no one I was playing with knew how to read music, so there was no point. It was like, why bring it up? So I just kind of lost the... I just don't remember a lot. And then, like, I went so far. Like, you have to, like, learn it. So my reading is rudimentary at best. Like, especially what I can recall is definitely rudimentary. But... what do I need it for now? To listen to music? Let me get some sheet music so I can sit here and read that while I'm listening. Maybe some people are into that. I am not that person, though. Whatever, everybody's got their way of doing stuff. It takes all kinds. So, on this piece of paper with, like, I guess lyrics written on it, it said... In George Harrison's apparently illegible writing, it said bridge, and Eric Clapton thought it said badge. And, presumably they had a laugh about that too, and it just became the name of the song. And now it all makes sense because I was right. It is random, out of context sentences, just kind of copy and pasted together. And then... as the article said, and it works because George Harrison wrote this, clever, crafty little pop song and it's like a banger, like, can't get it out of my head. So, that was the message that I got from this song, and that is the way that I, like, figure out what is this trying to tell me. I'm sure everyone is going to work out their own way. And, like, this is not an instruction manual. I always say that. But, you can... Just for your consideration, I guess, is why I do this. Let me do it on time. Should I do cards? I'll do a few. Just because, like, why not? You know, there's a lot of serious stuff going on right now, and I am absolutely, completely, 100% aware of it. But I do, you know, take very seriously, like, you gotta, like, blend in some me time and some watch something stupid of no consequence show, or, you know, whatever it is that kind of takes you away from the real world for a little while, because especially if you're like worried and scared and just everything is you're just disturbed, and it's like that's no way to live. It's not good. So it's always good to just turn that off, like whatever that is like for you. Like I was meaning turn off your mind, but that could also mean turn off the device too, like this guy in front of me right here. Is that upside down? Oh well, I guess we'll find out if I pull it. So just about like friendship as far as badge is concerned, or bridge. And just a lot of things I think that we're marginally aware of because we can't see it and we can't really hear it except for in a more sensory kind of telepathic way. And for the most part, those sort of muscles that we have in our minds are just flabby and flaccid. Like they don't, like they're like, what? We have stuff to do? Like, can I interrupt myself to tell you that I think it was just like one of those weird ads that's at the bottom of like when you're on YouTube and you get a print ad and it's just some weird thing. So this was like an article, like a sponsored thing, you know what I mean? And it was about these two conjoined twin women or girls, and it had a picture of them where they're attached, which is at the head about here, and they're like this in this position because they have to be, and they were both just kind of looking up at, and it looked like they're looking at, like when you're like trying to imagine something, or like this, like you're trying to remember a particular thing. They both had that sort of expression and eye position on their face, and they were both like they were looking at something happening, which they probably were. And the title of the article said, "Conjoined at the brain, twin girls can read each other's thoughts and see what the other one is thinking." Pow! Whoa, that's insane. I don't know why that was important to insert in there, but there you go. So, yeah, back to badge and friends and feelings and all of that. I guess this is a way that you can conjoin your brain with the song, and you might not necessarily see what the song is saying or the songwriter was thinking and sing while they were imagining the song. There's a lot of contributors to it, by the way. So imagine, I don't know, like 5 or 6 conjoined heads. Now, see, that just sounds to me like what happens when bands start to argue and hate each other, and maybe drugs turn them into like monsters that are like them and not them. You know what I mean? Like a 5 or 6 head bodied one head. You know what I'm saying? Like head to puss. That's just wrong. Of course there's gonna be, you know, problems. Okay, so let me just see what I get here. All right. Let's see what they say. So, this is the first one that came out. It doesn't have a title, really. So, I'm showing you the picture. 5 hearts for the 5-headed single unit that together, those dudes love each other, so it works for this Wow. Okay. Your heart is an ocean. Find yourself in its hidden depths. Life journey, finding purpose, true love. Love does not have to be romantical, does it? I know that I sure love, even though I wanted to, wring his neck before I was trying to do this. Me no speak my native language good. My cat kept trying to get me to come out there to the other room, and I was like, I was in there for hours. I'm in here now. And I was like, "What, you want to go out?" And I kept thinking, "Okay, well, good, go out because I want to record." But no, that is not what he wanted. He wanted something else, and I will, assent to his wishes when I am free, which is not for a while. But he finally got it because I had to shoo him away. I was like, "Get out of here, man! I'm trying to work." Anyway, I got sidetracked. But so yeah, the ocean that this card talks about, your heart is an ocean, and you find yourself in its hidden depths. Like I was talking about, the 5 or 6 headed beast of creation. And I talked about it maybe being a manifestation of like when things get ugly, but it doesn't have to be, because we're all sort of in the same kind of headspace. Like, even when, like, talking to Ringo, and he was just kind of out of it saying stuff like, I don't know what the heck he was talking about. If you're interested, you can do what I did and, go to YouTube and see the song with the lyrics, or look up the thing I looked up, which was what is Badge about, Badge by Cream about. So, but I'm sure you can, like, understand, like, everyone's heard of bands like Aerosmith, or like the Beatles breakup was pretty loud, and it affected people the way that I was affected by Marvel's Endgame. Marvel's Avengers Endgame. It was just too much. I remember when the Beatles broke up, I was kind of like, oh, I wasn't done with them. Why'd you break up? And I think I was mad at them for a long time. Like, I was like, I don't even like it anymore. Like, that kind of mad. Anyway, that could be the 6-headed beast, though, but with, like, drugs and egos and women and stealing each other's women. You can get an ugly beast out of that. But like I said, those dudes found it in their hearts to still, like, be friends. Like, they're soulmates fully. Or they were, some of them are alive, some of them are not. Well, one's gone from that whole conversation with George Harrison. Anyway, this was the next card I pulled. This sort of flower of life looking situation. And it says, why be unhappy when your soul is in full bloom? Health, spiritual growth, choosing happiness. Well, if you know the history of George Harrison, he got really into, like Buddhism, I guess. With the swamis and the gurus and the chanting and the sitting cross-legged, and which is, I also have an interest in, not the sitting position, but, the sort of philosophies of it and the things that, yeah, it's, But anyway, George Harrison was definitely a spiritual seeker. I mean, he wrote a song called My Sweet Lord, and it wasn't like a hymn. He was talking, I don't think about his guru over in India. I think he was talking about, like, the creative source of us all, God, basically. and other spiritual songs. And then, well, that's interesting. So I think the band that Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker of Cream, I think that they were in a band with Stephen Stills, and that I think that was Blind Faith, which Stephen Stills, Can't Find My Way Home. That's like a song about finding your way home, like real drunk, I guess. But it's also almost like a hymn. Like it feels like it has religious undertones. Like, some people, when they get off the stuff, whatever it may be, go to an AA situation, and there's a lot of sort of, leaving things in God's hands sort of talk, and that's, I haven't been to a whole meeting, but I feel like they, almost like Scientology though, like work some sort of religious techniques in there, and if you're like addicted to one thing, they sort of steer you into another direction that's not substance abuse oriented, and it's just an impression. But anyway, also, like Eric Clapton with his drug problems went through a lot. Like, you lose a lot when you're in that life of substance abuse. And I mean, he's written lots of songs about it. And the thing is and this is funny, it's so weird how life is. And George Harrison wrote a song called What Is Life? I okay? Like, I couldn't get it out fast enough. But what Eric Clapton lost, like George Harrison also lost things, like, women or whatever, but in relation to Eric Clapton, it's so weird. But poor Eric Clapton, and he was not even there for this. I don't even know that he was still a user at this point. But life tells you stuff. Life itself will give you lessons and messages. And I believe that he had gotten clean, which I guess took a while, and then he did this whole thing where he has a Caribbean island rehab place to go for substance abusers. Obviously, you gotta have money to go there. If you're not already in the Caribbean, you gotta get there, and then I'm sure it costs hella dollars to get in, but I guess it's fancy. How nice. Like, you don't have to go to a church and, like, do the AA meeting and hurry up and get out of the way because there's like a mother's birthing class coming in behind you. There's like all kinds of fancy accommodations. Like, it sounds like a resort, and I'm sure it is, and I'm sure, like, it's a very nice place to go through hell and come out of it a new person. Anyway, health, they all got back to health, and it's important. Like, we all kind of get off that track, or those of us that do, I should say, get off track and get into something like substance abuse or dependency. That's no way to live, because you can't do one or the other. Like, one is always going to supersede the other, and when it's the substance, that usually does not work out well, and you got to go through some stuff. And the people around you, familiar and not, strangers as well, go through the stuff with you, because you're out there affecting yourself, and sometimes you need help from other people, like medical help, or sometimes the police need to help you, because it branches out into things that are like criminal, and the police will be looking to come help you find your way to justice for the person that you harmed or whatever. Or other interactions with police that are not so well defined, and you end up like you could be a nun, and they're going to be looking for something to be like, what did you do wrong? So everything's an experience, like, so the point is you come out of it. You come out of it a new person, whatever that is. And you're reborn like a new seed, a sprout, a bloom, a flower has sprouted. You know, you're renewed. I think I made my point. Happy little pinwheel. To love without expectations is to be in heaven. Release control. Make peace with loved ones. Over and over again, they must have had to come back to this place where they could be happy and childlike and having fun and reminiscing, and possibly I'm going back and forth over like a timeline of these guys that did Badge, but like even like at the time that it came out, like back in the 60s, like obviously they were sitting around laughing and talking about shit Ringo said when he was drunk, and it just became a song because that's kind of how they happen. Just, I don't know, sometimes, like, I don't know that there's a formula like a sheet of music for that. And then to love without expectations is to be in heaven. So did I get it out? I'm not sure that I did. What Eric Clapton had lost, like after he, I believe, got clean and had found this woman he was with, and they had a child. He was on tour. The baby and the wife lived in New York and in an apartment tower, and I guess the window was open and there was nothing, no railing, no baby proof, and he might have been like 4 or something like that, and little boy just walked out the window. And so Tears from Heaven is a song that Eric Clapton wrote about that incident, and I just am connecting that with to love without expectations is to be in heaven. That little boy walked out like a cat, just trusting that there was going to be something underneath his feet, and the mother wasn't on drugs or anything like that. Like, it's just this tragic thing. And the window, though, like, girl, what, why? So I imagine a lot of shit went down after that between those people. And the song that he came out with is so beautiful, though, like, out of his pain. And that man has written so many songs out of his pain. And I know that he came out of it, and I know that he still was a productive person. And the reason why I know this is because my uncle was also a musician. I mean, also with Eric Clapton. I don't mean also with me, because he would tell you in an instant we were nowhere in the same class. Like, you know, that man had no respect at all for what I was doing. He did not like, I didn't only do punk rock, but anyway, I happened to be ill, and I needed to stay with family because I couldn't work and support myself, and I was staying at the place where my uncle would live, which was with his girlfriend in Houston, Texas. And one day he comes down to breakfast or whatever, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to the studio. I'm going to go do some session work with Eric Clapton. And, you know, my jaw was all over the floor, and I was like, oh my God, can I please go? And, like, all I wanted to do was sit there and be in the man's presence and watch him work. Both of them, by the way, I had seen my uncle do various, like, studio and rehearsal shit and concerts, like, from the time I was a small child, but that kind of thing, it didn't happen a lot because, of, you know, you don't want a little kid. Like, I was little, so you don't want, like, a yappy little kid running around touching stuff and bothering, you know. It's a work environment. I don't resent that, but I was an adult at this point. But there was some resentment of a musical nature. I think there was more. Oh, I know there was more, like personal family stuff, but my uncle told me one day that he felt, I'm paraphrasing, but he felt like punk rock was why he, after like he had a song in the Burt Reynolds movie Sharky's Machine called Street Life. I think it's right in the opening credits, and that was supposed to be like his kickoff to his career, like, you know, I hate this term, but glowing up or blowing up. Anyway, yeah, I can't talk the kids slango, slingo, whatever. But he told me one day, and he told me about this far from my face, like all of the anger about it was there, and I was really concerned for my safety for a second. But he said that punk rock ruined his career, and you're punk rock. And I was like, I represent everything you hate. It was a really intense moment. He did not allow me to go to the studio. He's like, no, he made it sound like I was a little kid, like I'd just be running around trying to talk to people. You know, I also have spent money on studio time for my own shit. Like, I don't know. Obviously, there's some, like, unfinished, you know, stuff between me and the uncle, but not gonna get finished in this lifetime because he's no longer with us. So, yeah, he and I never got to the pinwheel. I didn't even know, like, all of that was going on until, like, that moment I just told you about. But it explains a lot. And then also the other stuff that I didn't mention on top of it is like, oh, okay, well, I guess I understand. So here's the last card that I pulled. I don't think I've gotten this one before. Look, is that like somebody riding a bike? Oh, I thought there was somebody riding a bike on the book, popping a wheelie. I don't know what that's supposed to be. Give me a second here. Don't live the stories of others. Write your own creativity. Adventure. Find your genius. Well, I mean, I'm just relating to another story. I'm not like trying to live it. I believe me, I got plenty of stories of my own, and so do you. But you know what? Maybe that is the message, because songwriting is usually very intimate. I think I touched upon that here, where usually when something happens, especially if it's hurtful or traumatic or happy even, people that write songs will write about it in a song. So, I mean, to me, that's what you're already doing as a creative. You are inspired by the universe or what's around you or your lived experience, and who knows what would be the catalyst to make that like a creative venture. You talk to somebody, or you collaborate with someone and you have something in common and you share the idea that is similar, and then something else comes out of it. You know how doing stuff works. Okay, I mean to get like upset with you. I could be a little edgy. I'm gonna I think I'm done. I just, wanted to provide a light moment, because there's some heavy stuff going on, and everything doesn't have to be that. Like, it's okay to be frivolous and silly, because frivolous and silly demeans and diminutizes what could be a really fulsome experience if you are not hindered by stuff like frivolous, like, don't be afraid to expand and explore and then explode too if you need to. Because that's like, I don't know, like, don't bar experiences from yourself. Good, bad, or ugly, they're all there. They're all there telling you something in some way. Something that you can maybe, that'll come in useful later. Like, you just never know. So it's, I feel like, a good idea not to discard any experience as a waste of time, because that is just never the case. I just don't believe that. Anyway, that was kind of fun. Thank you and good night.